Greetings America, Mr. Sports Travel. It's the Golden State video. Before I tell you where I am, thanks to all those that have donated to OperationFirstResponse.org. OperationFirstResponse.org. There she is, my cat, the American Flagmobile, still kicking butt. I've had this puppy since 2019, pre-COVID. Did that trip around the country, did the trip last fall, did this spring trip, gonna do another trip this fall. Isn't she a beauty? I'm so pretty too. Isn't she pretty? And I'm so pretty too. It's great to be back. Before I tell you where I am, again, I can't thank our vet service members, first responders, and their families enough. Freedom is not free, folks. For Mr. Sports Travel to see a sporting event in 49 of our 50 states in 5 months before Memorial Day, that's pretty spectacular. Did Hawaii, by the way, before I did the lower 48, which was February 20th to June 20th. Now, each of these videos, first visit to the state, favorite visit, most recent visit, all the states. And again, we'll do the Nevada and Alaska video later this year. Now, where is Mr. Sports Travel? Of course, I'm in America's finest city. My home, not where I was born, but where I lived most of my adult life, San Diego. Did you really think I was going to do a video of California, not in San Diego? Come on now, people. So I waited till I got home. I'm home. It's Petco Park. It's great to be here. Now I want to point out some features of where we are. Over this direction, you can sort of see the bay. Not the bay. So that's the direction of the bay. You see those two palm trees kind of on the edge of the camera there? Go that way, that's going toward the bay. And of course, if you look this direction, that's going more toward downtown. Home plate would be kind of up this way by my head. You see where it says Petco Park. Home plate's in that area. So I'm at the home of the San Diego Padres. Not the original home. The original home has been torn down. More on that in a minute. But I chose this venue because this is the place to be for sports in my town, San Diego, where I've lived since I was 24 years old. Came here, I was before the church mouse. I had a lot more hair. And I'm now 50 years old. Again, the 50 States Tour, celebrating each of our 50 states while raising awareness of OperationFirstResponse.org. Just got back from my trip, had a great time. So let's talk about my first visit to California for sports, my most recent visit, and my favorite visit to the state. First visit was actually not San Diego. Neither was my most recent sporting event. First visit, high school graduation present to myself. I deserved it. I went to 3 high schools in 5 years. I turned out all right. Went to 3 colleges in 3 years. I turned out all right. Although I was born in that church mouse when I moved here in 1996. So, first visit, 1991, 5 years earlier, I was 19 years old. I got a high school diploma. Saw the Dodgers and the Giants at Dodger Stadium. What were you doing there, Mr. Sports Travel? My aunt and uncle and cousin living in Santa Monica. Gotta go do the LA thing as a 19-year-old kid, right? So came out late June, out for about a week, did Disneyland, Hollywood, and of course a Dodger game. Now, I was 19, folks. Not the smartest tool in the shed because we decided to take the bus on a weekend from Santa Monica Dodger Stadium. Getting there, not too bad of a deal. Getting back, late at night, early in the morning, not too smart. Went through Skid Row. It was a little sketchy of an experience. Let's just see, I was exposed to things at 19 years old that I hadn't been exposed to in the comforts of growing up in Hartford, Connecticut. Up to that point, which is where I grew up. All right, so there's your first visit to the Golden State for sports by Mr. Sports Travel, 1991. Most recent visit, not San Diego. What's up with that, Mr. Sports Travel? I just got back, broken toe and all. There'll be a toe video coming soon. It's currently June 29th, 2022. I got back June 21st, 2022. Yes, it's been 8 days and Mr. Sports Travel has not been to a sporting event. Did I eventually have a broken toe? So my most recent sporting event, June 20th, the last event on the first half of the 50 States Tour, or on the second half, before we end this video. Pro-Am basketball, Kezar Pavilion, 1924 in Golden Gate Park, San Francisco. They have a Pro-Am Summer League. It was awesome. Old historic building. It's actually the original home of the NBA champion, Golden State Warriors. That's where they play, Kezar Pavilion, Golden Gate Park. In fact, where the 49ers play, the original San Francisco 49ers, the San Francisco Tree, they played at Keyser Stadium. It was like adjacent to the pavilion, and it's still there, used by high school. So it's great that the city of San Francisco has preserved two historic venues, Keyser Stadium for football and Keyser Pavilion for the hoops. And of course, they didn't have the hoops in the last 2 years because of COVID, so I was itching to get up there to see some hoops. So that was my most recent sporting event. Now, favorite ever sporting event or experience in the Golden State. It would be hard for Mr. Sport Travel. A, I'm a resident here. B, we're in the most densely populated state in the country. So we got pro sports galore, special events galore, colleges galore, high schools galore. I mean, you can't get more high density in California. Everybody knows that, right? All right. So, most favorite sporting event or experience. I chose this venue for a reason, although it was not the site 98, although it was a tie to 98. And of course, I'm talking about the 1998 run of the San Diego Padres in the playoffs. So October 1998. Now I got to set this up. The Padre franchise started in '69, the expansion team with the Expos, which are now the Nationals. I'm just going to tell it as it is, folks. The Padres sucked pretty much through the 70s. Didn't make the World Series till '84. Lost to the Tigers. And that was an awesome Tigers team, by the way. I don't think anybody would beat the Tigers that year. And the Padres sucked again through the mid to late 80s and into the early 90s. And in '96, the year I moved here, in fact, a couple months after I moved here, the Pods made the playoffs. On the last day of the season, they beat the Dodgers at Dodger Stadium. Whoop, they're in the playoffs. And of course, they didn't do the coup in the first round. I don't think they won a game. They might have won one game. They lost to the Cardinals. So remember, we're going to 1998. Padres been to the postseason twice in their whole history. Talk about pretty bad, right? And if you remember the teams in the 90s, you had the Braves in the National League, and you had the Yankees and the Indians, I would say, in the 90s predominantly, the teams in the American League. So going into the 98 postseason, everybody's picking the Braves to go to the World Series in the National League, and everybody's got the Yankees going to the World Series in the American League. Remember that 98 team was the Yankees compared to the 27 Yankees. They won so many games, they were so prolific. But for San Diego, to have the run that they had in 98 to get to the World Series, it was magical. And sadly, here we are in 2022, the Padres haven't even come close to repeating it. Yeah, they made it in the COVID year in the playoffs, but they didn't do much. And years preceding that, in fact, when this ballpark opened, they didn't do much in 04, I want to say 04 or 5 or 6, somewhere in the neighborhood. They always got beat by the Cardinals. I remember they getting beat by the Cardinals. Now, they beat the Cardinals in the COVID year, lost to the Dodgers. That was a good series, but there's really been nothing like 1998, right? The COVID year was so wacky because fans could go to games, except for the World Series in Texas. So, that 98 run was magical because you had the Astros, who were even favored in that series. Remember, they had Randy Johnson, who they acquired at mid-season. The Padres go to Houston. I think they won a split there. And they come back here. That was a best of 5. So the Pods took games 3 and 4. And I remember the old stadium, the atmosphere was unbelievable. 70,000 fans. And I'm sitting in the upper deck. I wasn't carrying the dollars back then. But I got to the game. Saw 2 games, 3 and 4. It was unbelievable. Absolutely magical to be there. Now, where the Padres used to play, that ballpark was actually torn. The stadium was actually torn down during the COVID year because a bond measure was passed, or a ballot measure was passed for San Diego State to build a football stadium. So this year actually will be the debut of it, the new San Diego State football stadium. It'll have concerts, etc. But that's where the Padres played. Now this ballpark, which I forget to put in this video, like a week or 2 after the World Series, the Padres had this ballpark on the ballot. I, as a voter, and fellow San Diegans got to say, yes, we want a new ballpark for the Padres. And of course, it did happen. This place was supposed to open in 03, ended up opening in 04. Not uncommon with major projects. The Brewers ballpark also opened a year later. But that 98 run, they beat the Astros. They were not favorites. Then they have to play the almighty Braves. Now, that series was a 2-3-2. Braves had the first 2 games and the last 2 games. The Pods go into hot Atlanta and they beat the Braves 2 games. Now, the thing I remember about that is Atlanta is still to this day a horrific sports team. They didn't sell out their games. Like the Braves are the team of the 90s. Support your team! This was at the old Turner Field. Neither of those games were sold out. I remember watching them on TV. Guys, support your team. So the Padres go in there, they win the first 2 games. Now they come back here, and the Pods take game 3. I want to say it was a day game, I could be wrong. And we're all thinking here in San Diego, sweep. Of course, the Braves are the team of the 90s for a reason. They take games 4 and 5. And now the Pods got to go back to Atlanta. And of course, we're all thinking, oh God, it's getting brown and mustard ugly here now, right? Because the Padres have not been successful. The 84 team, the 96 team, and don't tell me this 98 team going to blow a 3-game-0 lead. Of course, the Padres won Game 6, and then went on to face the almighty New York Yankees. And quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, no one was beating the Yankees that year. And the evidence of that is the Padres were the best team in the National League, and they didn't beat 1 game against the Yankees. The Yankees swept the Padres. Mr. Sports Travel was at the 3 games against the Braves here, and I went to the game 3, which really was the pivotal game of the series. The Padres lost the first 2 in the Bronx at the old Yankee Stadium. And had the Padres won that game 3, it might have been a different series. I still think the Yankees would have won though. I mean, the Yankees were murderers, right? I mean, they had literally like no weaknesses. So the Yankees, of course, came back in game 3. I think that was the Scott Barocious home run off of Trevor Hoffman. Could be wrong. Get a little foggy here. 50 now, not 24. And then in game 4, the Yankees closed it out. So I went to game 3. But that whole run, from the beginning of October until, those 3 weeks there, when I think of all the sports that I've seen, I've been to sports in more than 35 countries, folks, 6 continents, every sport imaginable, every event imaginable in this country, in North America. It's still one of my favorite experiences. It's just off the charts. So, hope you've enjoyed the California video, my favorite event, the 98 run of the Padres San Diego. If you haven't been to Petco Park, what you waiting for, folks? It's a beautiful ballpark. Gotta come here. My favorite is still Fenway Park. I'm biased Red Sox fan, but of the newbies, I love the Giants ballpark, Pittsburgh's. I like Seattle's too. This is also one of the cream of the crops, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Sports Travel has been, of course, to every MLB park. And I went to the Rangers one this year. Didn't go during 21 and didn't go during the COVID year, obviously. I didn't go to the World Series games. It's like a football stadium. I'm not a big fan of the new Rangers ballpark. My friend is like one of these hoity-toity, I like air conditioning at ballparks. Dude, it's not baseball. Baseball's outside in the sun. So he's like one guy in the light. I didn't care. It's like a big football stadium with a baseball park in there. But there is air conditioning. The night I was there, it was spring on this road trip. It was actually Jackie Robinson Day. Ohtani hit a couple with dingers for the Angels. And the roof was open, but the footprint of it was bigger than the Diamondbacks ballpark. Any fans that have been to the Diamondbacks ballpark in Phoenix, that's where the Pods are now, so I can shoot this video, but nobody's here, except for the regular employees, not the players, not the fans. It's like an aircraft. That's not how baseball is supposed to be played. So, got to come here to San Diego to see a ball game here. On the Facebook and the Instagram, on the Facebook, I'm Mr. MISTER, sportstravel.com, MISTER, sportstravel.com. On the Twitter, we don't Twitter much, and the Instagram, mrsportstravel.com. We'll be doing a fall trip to see all the remaining college football. I got about 5 left. College hockey in Alaska, September, 2 left. What other milestones does Mr. Sports Travel have? I did all the college hoops. I'm running out of milestones because I am the everywhere man. I'm going to go probably see the Raiders in Vegas. Haven't been there yet. And may knock out the 2 CFLs I don't have left, Edmonton and Calgary. So please become my friend on YouTube. As you can see, I have tons of friends. Why don't you become my friend? I'm a friendly guy. And please feel free to provide some feedback. I'll be trying some things this summer here as I am in the break period between spring trip, fall trip. And I'll get some Padre games while I'm back home. Great to be home. The sun is hitting me. I'm so pretty. Look at me. I'm so pretty. And the car is looking good. Mr. Sports Travel, even with the broken toe. I did the broken toe video, feeling good. Thanks for watching the video, folks. I'm living the dream. Please thank a veteran service member, first responder, their families today. Donate to OperationFirstResponse.org. Thank you for your donations at this point, by the way. And by the way, I will help you plan your sports road trip for that $50 donation. Why 50? I turned 50! And I've seen sports in 49 of the 50 states. Within 5 months, can you believe that? Only in America. We'll see you in the next video, folks. Bye-bye.